Chat, there's new weapons in TF2! That's right, new weapons in TF2 Classified! If you're even a little familiar with the TF2 modding community, then it's very likely you're aware of the Steam release of TF2 Classified, and holy shit, yeah, it's great! In short, TF2 Classified is a source mod for TF2 that heavily scales back on additions to the base game, having far less in terms of unlockable weapons and map selection, no cosmetics to speak of, and in a way turns back the clock to the early years of TF2, but it's not all reductions, having a small handful of brand new weapons that range from being copy-pasted from the base game with a bit of visual tweaking, to being cut from a similar cloth as weapons from the base game, to entirely new ideas that have never been done in TF2, coupled with bringing back additions from TF2's beta like some of the cut weapons, the civilian class and his related game mode. This mod aims to sort of peer into an alternate reality, one where Valve took the game in a very different direction to what we actually got. And my love for this mod does not come from some weird mentality about how modern TF2 is awful and all those buzzwords about toxic positivity and that shit. No, we're not doing any of that. No, my love for TF2 Classified is how it's just an amazing showcase of what the community is capable of in terms of fun and engaging ideas, and not as some sort of Valve, you gotta listen to the fans and do all this mentality. Why did I turn into a shock jock for a second there? I also really do not want the takeaway from this video to be I like Classified more than regular TF2, or vice versa. I think both are great fun with their own pros and cons. So if you want any of that kind of discourse, you can look elsewhere. I'm sure there's already people spinning that content wheel. I just kind of want to talk about the cool things this mod does to hopefully convince you to play it. And maybe when we're all done, we can all hop on Sisyphus. The design philosophy for a lot of Classified's new weapons is really interesting, with a lot of them being balanced around the idea of allowing you to be a lot more aggressive and direct, but at a cost. Some weapons in base TF2 do also follow that design philosophy, you know, stuff like the direct hit or the force of nature. But there's also a lot of weapons that promote more passive playstyles, like the Razorback or even the Conch. But in Classified, every new weapon revolves around this being more aggressive idea, and nowhere's that better showcased than in Spy's two new tools, the Tranquilizer Gun and the Lescampette. Don't tell me I pronounce it wrong, it's a fictional word in a fictional language, so nobody can be wrong.
The French.
These two weapons really hone in on that aggressive idea. The Tranquilizer forces you to only have one bullet in the clip in exchange for making melee fights more forgiving, and the Lescamp lets you quickly get in and out of slippery situations, if you're smart enough not to get hit and not stray too far from ammo packs. These two weapons alone make Spy feel far more enjoyable for me to play. I think Spy is fine in base TF2, like playing mind games with the Disguise Kit and landing smooth backstabs will always feel amazing, and this next bit is 100% just my personal subjective view on how Spy is designed, but I never had too much fun as Spy. There weren't many times I would play Spy out of a desire to play Spy, but more out of an obligation to. And that is totally just a me thing. I understand how and why a lot of players do find regular TF2 Spy to be enjoyable and rewarding, and I respect the hell out of the players who hone their skills as him. Truly, I do. But I find Classified's ways of changing Spy to be more enjoyable to me. Rushing in with the Lescamper to backstab an unsuspecting medic, sniping someone with the Tranquilizer so my scout can rush in and bonk them. They're very simple conceptually, but they do just enough to have you completely change how you think when playing Spy. Do you use the stock watch for better reliability when going invisible, or do you use the Le Postage scamp to make better escapes if you can move well enough to not take damage? It's a simple weighing of options and personal playstyles that some weapons in TF2 just don't quite reach. Like, let's be honest, what soldier in their right mind is using the stock shovel, or what pyro is going to use the third degree? On the flip side, because of Classified's smaller but more tightly designed pool of new weapons, there aren't any objective correct choices. It all comes down to how you want to play. Do you want to deal more damage with your rocket launcher and shoot rockets from weird angles never before heard of at the cost of a smaller clip and slower rockets? Do you want to have better visibility and therefore more survivability while scoped in a sniper, at the cost of less damage and being unable to charge up shots? Do you want sticky bombs that detonate automatically when enemies walk near them but you can't leave as many placed? There isn't a single new weapon in Classified that doesn't feel meticulously fine-tuned to near perfection, and I'm seriously excited to see what the team will cook up in the future. I can only imagine this is how TF2 old heads felt back in the early days of the game, seeing Valve come up with stuff like the Tomislav. It's genuinely wonderful to have this little buzz when I think about the possibilities for future weapons. Okay, honestly speaking, the new maps themselves aren't anything super spectacular. This isn't to say any of them are bad or anything, they're all really solidly designed and fun to play, just none that are a specific standout to me, except for one we'll circle back to when I talk about its corresponding game mode later. Shh. Can be patient. You've got a lot of maps from base TF2 such as the old reliable classics like Upward, High Tower, Lakeside, and 2 Fort also exists. But out of the new maps, they're pretty good. Nothing wrong with any of them, they're all fun and work, but maybe it's a symptom of me actually kind of liking some of TF2's more out there maps like Red Space and Mercenary Park for breaking away from the typical TF2 visuals mold, but that's more of a personal take. I would love to see more maps like Harbor, which are set in a city, or Watchtower with the unique crater and the eponymous giant watchtower. I know it's intentional that a lot of the maps follow more closely to the original game's visual design, so it's kind of an invalid point to make, but this is my video detailing all my thoughts on the mod, and this is one of the thoughts. So, where the mod is a bit more interesting are the brand new game modes. Front and center are VIP and VIP Race, featuring the 10th playable class, the Civilian. Some servers do allow you to play as him on non-VIP maps, but generally you're mostly going to see him restricted to these game modes. VIP is basically just payload, but instead of a big fat cart to push, you have a big fat man you need to protect, as you can only capture the different points if the Civilian is present and on the point with you. And VIP Race is the same idea, but payload race, and therefore another Civilian for Red to protect and escort. This may sound kinda boring to take payload and make the cart playable and vulnerable, but the Civilian has enough differences to the normal cart that it switches up how you operate and strategize with your team. He heals all around him, provides resistances, can give a boost to teammates of either speed or crits depending on which cane he uses, but he can't do much damage on his own. He can still do some damage, and in an emergency you can easily whack someone over the head with your weapon and save yourself, but a lot of the time you're going to be relying on your team and kind of just sicking them on people. My favorite thing to do as a Civilian is seeing someone on the enemy team that I want killed, pointing to my soldier and saying, "Go get him, boy!" Because giving someone guaranteed mini crits for a short time just by pointing at them is a real power rush. And in the rare instances when a server allows multiple Civilians or even Civilians on non-VIP maps, stacking multiple Civilians is actually one of the scariest things alive. A group of Civilians quickly making their way at you, boosting each other, is as scary as a pack of sharks. Or in this case, a pack of lone sharks. When I first played Classified, I didn't think VIP would be much different to regular payload and didn't even give it much thought at first, but after playing a few matches and even getting the Entrepreneur achievement on my first game as Civilian, I'm good at the video game, I get the hype. But TF2 Classified's claimed fame doesn't end at the portly oil baron, because there's also something even cooler that expands on how you play far more. Mold and Piss 4-team mode, expanding TF2's red and blue to include green and yellow, making matches far more chaotic and leaving little to no breathing room. Unlike other game modes where there's ebbs and flows, small moments of respite while the enemy team is prepping their push, you don't get that here. Wow, you drove back red team so they have to regroup? Well, now green is pushing the point, and while green pushes, yellow is antagonizing your backline, but red is going after yellow's backline, and so on and so forth. There's no rest. It's constant action at all times, and I love it. There's a criminally small amount of official 4-team maps, with only one of them being King of the Hill and one payload race. But that one payload race map is so good, it's the one that I was waiting to talk about now. Sisyphus. It is 4-team payload race, and where the cart track is unbelievably short with 0 points to cap besides the final one, it's made up for with the tight map design forcing everyone into close quarters and all carts converging in the middle of the map on a giant hill with a hole in the middle. It's amazing. Once one team starts getting close to winning, the other 3 dog on them, and then one of those 3 try to make a break for the cart, and so the other 3, including the one that was winning prior, gang up, and it's just a really fun stalemate at the end. Look, I know that fun stalemate sounds like an oxymoron, but I promise it's fun and that I'm the only moron here, just hear me out. I've seen some people call this map terrible and compare it to the likes of High Tower, that it takes way too long to leave the map and it's too frustrating, but A, I already like High Tower as it's a well-designed map. Not to play payload race on, but to fight in. And 2, they're wrong, because most Sisyphus matches end after only a few minutes because, again, there's 4 whole teams gunning for the point. Yes, stalemates can happen when everyone gets bottlenecked together, but it just takes one good Uber or a cleverly placed sentry and one team comes out on top, easy peasy. I know that sounds obvious, but I still see people whinging and whining over the map, and I'm here to say you're all wrong. And that's pretty much it for the new stuff. I know I didn't go over every new weapon or every new map or every new game mode, but to be honest, this was never meant to be a traditional review. It just was an excuse for me to gush about how I think the TF2 Classified team has absolutely nailed it across the board. My only real gripe with the game is, Why is everyone so fucking obsessed with 2Fort? I like 2Fort as much as the next guy, but why are there like 20 servers running 2Fort all the time and nothing else? But to be frank, the overabundance of 2Fort servers isn't really an issue with the game, it's an issue with the community having a bit of lead poisoning. However, if you're like me and enjoy maps that aren't just capture the flag, here's a couple servers I can point you towards. The Vault F4 servers seem alright from the couple of times I've popped on, mostly a lot of regular run-of-the-mill maps. I've heard that they're a little stricter with their moderation, even though I've not personally seen that, but like, your mileage may vary. Moon's Pub is a nice little community that not only has a 24/7 2Fort server if you really need your fix, but also run events like Shitpost Sunday where all hell breaks loose. And for the 3.5% of my audience in the UK, I gotcha, the Swishcast runs a 24/7 server containing a good mix of well-known maps and some gems from the really old days of TF2's community, such as my darling 2 Train and Falling. And now, as we draw to a close on this little stroll through TF2C, I felt it would be nice to dip into my clip dump roots and end the video on a short little menagerie of highlights I got while recording background footage. Thank you for watching, and please enjoy.
Among Us. I encountered this like weird bug where like it dies instantly. I just want to like I have to get used to it before I can really appreciate it. But right now I can appreciate it for existing.
Hey Zercroy, have you tried getting using the Cluck Herbert the new pets? Oh no. Theonors.
Yeah, it looks like a penis.
Flyers. A full, like, 100 player server. You know, designed for it.
Please stop shooting rockets.
Stop shooting rockets!
Please!
I have to like not get used to not doing that.
Steve, just stay back a minute while we clear the line. I'm out of ammo. No, Sim! I told you to stay back when we cleared the line.
Oh shit! I fucking healed the wrong guy.
We gotta group up. Group up. Group up.
This is so funny, just getting beat to death by canes from old British men.
Yes, there is. Get him.
No! Oh shit.
The French is behind you.
POV, your Paul Revere.
Help Sim. Thank you.